Hi there! Thanks for visiting! Hello there! Welcome back to my channel if you are not new here, and if you are new here, welcome! Today I'm going to be talking about the Forgotten Seamstress in another episode. Is this episode 2 of Chaotic Book Club? Okay, ring light eyeballs, here we are. It's getting a little late where I live, so. Anyways. Oh, I have a script for this one. I actually have a script for this one. Just to give this book a little introduction, there are two sort of main characters that we follow through like a different points of view in each chapter and like section. Our, I suppose, like main character, at least to me, because I think the person that the intended audience is supposed to really sympathize with, I think that that character is Caroline, and she is like a 30-something-year-old woman living in England, and she's a mess, to be honest with you. And then we have another character named Maria. And then we have another, like, sort of, like, the next tier down of characters. Her name is Queenie, which is just a nickname, because she's just kind of like an unknown somebody, you know what I mean? Unknown nobody, maybe? I guess you would call that. I'm not honestly really sure. But in honor of the British women of this novel, I'm having tea. And also in honor of the different timelines of this novel, I'm also having pizza rolls. So, as I said, because the points of view jump back and forth, we also have all different sort of timelines. So, Caroline is in the modern day. It's not really present day, technically, because it was written in 2013, but, you know, semantics. And she, like I said, at least for me, oh yeah, obviously, because she's like the one set in this time, is probably the one we are supposed to sympathize with the most to make them like the main character to us, you know what I mean? The way that this is written, I really like how the author sort of wove the timelines and people together in a way that like our main characters are all having sort of parallel experiences, but throughout a 100-year time gap. And it kind of, to me, goes to show that humanity will always kind of, once you strip it down to like a more individual level, I think remain somewhat the same. So Caroline, modern day, loses her job and her man all at one time. Maria loses her man and also her job all at one time because these girls are messy. I honestly can't remember why Caroline and her man are no longer a thing, because he was boring, and I also don't remember his name because I also, like, he's like a throwaway character. Like, I don't care about him. I also don't remember exactly what Caroline's job was that she lost, because again, boring throwaway detail that really truly, like, in the grand scheme of the whole book, does not matter at all. Inconsequential. Here we are, both of these women, they're at different points in their life. Maria is much younger at this time, whereas, like I said, Caroline is like a 30-something year old woman. So, like, I just entered my 30s. Hello! It's been honestly good so far. So just for like ease of talking throughout the rest of this video, I am going to spoil something. which is like we, as the reader, learn that Maria and Queenie are the same person. So, yeah, let's move on. I'm gonna still call her Maria though, just because that's what I'm gonna do. As I said, let's circle back. Both these women pregnant with no man. So Caroline is in like modern day England, as I said. So she gets the right to choose what she wants to do with her own pregnancy. Couldn't be America in 2025. Unfortunately for Maria's character, she does not have that luck. And once she is found out, oh, so here's the tea. The reason she lost her job was because she was pregnant. And the reason she lost her man was because he went to war. And he was the prince at the time. Did I even mention that? Oh yeah, so here's the tea. She, Maria, is a royal seamstress. She got noticed by like one of the royal people for her skills in sewing and like making things, which is very cool, and it even kind of inspired me a little bit to polish up my sewing skill, but nobody asked. So once she kind of gets busted boinking the prince, she also because she started to show that she was pregnant, like, can't hide it forever, Sister Sue. So then she gets booted out of like Buckingham Palace. I can't even recall if they call it that in the book, but that's like what we, the reader, are supposed to picture. So then she gets the boot and has to go to the hospital, but she is allowed to bring her. Ooh, actually, I can't remember. So she either gets the boot because she's like too pregnant and then has to go to the hospital because she's like straight up having the baby, or she gets sent to the hospital to work first and then she has the baby. But I feel like it's the first thing because like that seems like more of just like an exciting conflict to me. But yeah, anyway, so this young lady frickin' the prince, and yeah, dang, that sucks. So it's never gonna work out. But I mean, maybe, but not for her. But it's okay. We don't have to feel too sad because she's just a fictional character. So anyways, this is a mental hospital that she gets sent to. Maria then carries the pregnancy throughout, and the nurses take the baby out and they tell her that he died, but they did confirm that it was a boy, I believe, and she swears up and down for mostly her whole life that she heard him cry, so he was not dead. But that's being that she was in the mental hospital. That's what happened back in the day. So then she's just like stuck there because she, has got, who knows, melancholy, hysteria, you name it. But the one thing that kind of gets her back to a little bit more of herself throughout all of this time, through her whole life basically, is her skill of handcrafting and sewing. So she is like quilting things from her life, and she brings some of the royal silks in like a briefcase, like a sewing case. And I just think that it is kind of cool to think about the fact that like we are like really, our lives are like a quilt, just made up of the things that we were around and that were around us at the time. I think that the quilt is just like a very cool and literal way of representing that kind of theme throughout this story. So, anyways, she is just like quilting and quilting and quilting away forever. So, fast forward to modern day. We are back with Miss Caroline. She's got all sorts of problems because, again, as I've reiterated very many times already, she ain't got no money, she ain't got no man. And then Caroline, which kind of starts this parallel storyline. That's kind of hard to say after Caroline, parallel storyline. Maybe it isn't. The pregnancy is, I believe, the first part of that to get solved. And if I am remembering correctly, Caroline chooses to end the pregnancy via a procedure at the hospital, for which she got pamphlets and, the whole spiel, I'm sure. But then I believe that while she is dealing with another one of our, subplots, she miscarries, and so then it's a whole thing. Her new friend who she just met happens to call her at the time, I believe, that this actual miscarriage is happening, and he comforts her and whatever and spends a couple days with her just making sure that she's all good, And this is pretty cool considering this is a very new friendship. This man's name is Ben, and he's a small town journalist, a writer, and he's helping Caroline find out something about this beautiful royal purple quilt that she found in her mother's house. Currently, well, not currently, but right now, let's pretend we're Caroline. So currently, Caroline's mother is kind of going through a little bit of dementia. She's going through the transition of being able to not live alone anymore. And that, of course, is another struggle piled on top for Caroline, because now she's got to bring her mom to a home. Caroline just lost her job. She really can't afford this, but she also knows that it's the best thing. So the quilt is, like I said, the quilt in and of itself is almost a character, but it is, like I said, comprised of these different materials that are some of them are very just super intricate, and materials that only existed at a certain place and time in history. And so Caroline starts to investigate this, and then, spoiler alert, she loses the quilt, which is in its protective case and covering, and that's, in the grand scheme of things, kind of one of the most low stakes problems in the book. So between Caroline playing real-life quilt detective simulator and her new little man friend Ben, who it's the will they won't they type of situation, type of deal, these two things just give Caroline the spark that she needs to decide to start her own interior design business, naturally. All in all, for me, I think that this book is a really good mix. This is a cozy book. I really like thrillers, and sometimes I can just I find myself just thinking about them all day. Whereas this was not that. The Forgotten Seamstress was just a nice, easy read that still felt I feel at the point that I am in my life, I found Caroline to be just a super easily relatable character, and also just because of similar experience we have had I too, obviously, like we all at some point end up doing, like I am kind of watching my parents noticeably age, and just all the people around me, my baby sister who's almost 18, just that kind of thing. And I feel like that's really truly what Caroline is wrestling with as well. She feels like, in a way, like she's losing her mom, but that also kind of helps them change their relationship dynamic in a way. And through all of this, and through investigating the quilt, and Ben helping her find resources at local universities and stuff to talk to, do I want to tell you? I don't know. If you don't want the spoiler, just click here. Thank you so much. Please like and subscribe. Have a stellar night. But if you do want to know, like, the real tea, here's what happens. So I think, like I said, Maria and Queenie are the same person. So when Queenie is telling her story in the 1970s cassette tape interview, she's telling the story of Maria, who fell in love with the prince, got pregnant with him, and then got locked away and lied to. And then she eventually gets out of the mental hospital because she has, like, a phone a friend. Not really, but just people throughout her life who were really close to her kind of ended up finding each other and helping her out, making sure that she was all good. Maria's baby, who she said, no, I heard him cry, like he did not die. He ended up being adopted in, like, an under the rug type of adoption because that whole hospital was swiping women's babies out here. And so then the baby grew up to be Caroline's dad, but he also knew he was adopted. His parents were very open with him with that. Caroline kind of has, like, this, like, flashback sort of thing about pictures, or I can't remember if it's pictures she saw or like a real life memory. Because Caroline's dad's adoptive parents were so open with him about that, I believe he was able to meet her, but it was, like, way later in his adult life. Her being Maria again. And now Caroline is finding out that her real biological grandma and her adoptive grandma did know each other, and kind of in a way both of their stories are woven. I should stop saying weaving. I'm doing that to be like a play on words for fiber arts, but, like, ultimately it's about quilting. Like I said, I think that we are quilts, I can't remember if that is it, but a lot of that at the end sort of started happening pretty quickly, coming at you once you get to the climax of the story. I also enjoy that there is, like, enough romance to give it, like, a little bit more of a subplot, but it's not too much. It doesn't leave, like, a too romantic taste in my mouth. I don't like that. One thing about me is I'm a little bit picky. I don't like too much romance in a book. I guess that right now I am in kind of a time period in my life where I am living back in my hometown now, and just kind of coming to terms with, like, that it really truly does have an effect on who you are. And now my mom is moving. She's not going to a home, but she's just moving out of the home that I spent most of my childhood and that she lived in for all of my adulthood thus far. So it's just kind of a big transitional period for me in my life, and I was really able to relate with pretty much all of the characters in this book. And I think it was a really nice, easy, cozy, comfy read. if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. And if you want more chaotic book club, this one wasn't like honestly super duper chaotic. So I'll see what I can do about that. But if you want more, please like and comment and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.